Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and this one is awesome. It's with Andrew Golden from Golden Horseshoe BBQ in Toronto, Canada. That's right, Toronto, Canada. I'm not going to go too into this because I want you to get the information from him, but you should know that he is 23 years old, putting out fantastic barbecue. He went to work with Nolan at B4 Barbecue and Boba in Maybank, Texas, amongst other places that he's worked at in Toronto. He's a cool guy, down to earth, super passionate. You're going to love this. I can't thank him enough for taking the time. So be sure to check out his Instagram so you can follow him and find out where he's going to pop up next. He's popping up mostly at breweries in Toronto, but there is in the back of his mind a brick and mortar, so be sure to follow his journey. So make sure to stay safe and visit your local barbecue joint. Hey Andrew, how you doing?
I am doing great. Happy to be on with you.
I'm
Very
so
happy.
I'm so happy to talk to you. I've heard great things from Nolan and other people, but I also, in watching you from afar, I've loved your passion and how much you're into barbecue and the fact that you're in Toronto. I think that it makes it even more fun. How so let's talk about the journey. Like so you're 23, just so people know at least
23. Yeah.
at this moment in time, you're
Yeah.
23. Because someone might watch this in 2 years from now and
Yeah. Born in 2001. So right now I'm 23.
That's crazy. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny. I don't even want to say what our age difference is. I feel like I'm 23, which is sad. Like in my head, when you get to my age, you're still gonna feel in your mind that you're 23 years old.
My dad says the same thing to me every day.
How did this journey start? Because I know there's a lot of facets to it, but because what's your path? Because you went to college for what, criminology and
Yes.
psychology and
Yes. It was psych and a minor in neuroscience. And I was out in Ottawa, which is our country's capital. I did a year there. My first year got interrupted by COVID. So March, we all got sent home from school. From what I gathered, being down in Texas, it was kind of really just 2 weeks for a lot of places in the States.
Texas
But
for sure, not California, but
exactly,
Texas.
exactly, yeah. So for us, it was like 2 years.
Yeah, California
So
was 2 years.
exactly, I've heard similar. Yeah, I've heard that. So yeah, so I got home in my first after my first year, and I didn't like school. I've never been a school guy. I did all right. I wasn't flunking, or I didn't have enjoyment for it. It wasn't what I loved doing. I didn't see a future for myself in either one of those fields. And then I went back second year, which I guess would have been fall of 21 or fall of 2020. And I was paying rent, but doing online school. And that wasn't doing it for me because I was living in a house there and it just didn't make sense for me. So I ended up coming home in around November. And that's when kind of, I don't know if it's when or maybe I just got into it, kind of like the barbecue, Instagram reel, YouTube kind of started a big rise. Maybe I just started paying attention to it more, but I was like, I love this. This seems so cool. So I cooked my first brisket probably in December on a gas grill with a smoke box, a little smoke tube with pellets in it. And it came out awful. I thought it was amazing, but it came out awful. And then a few weeks later, my mom, who is kind of like an inspiration for me in terms of cooking, and she bought a little Trigger pellet grill, like the smallest one, like squeeze a brisket on there on a good day. And then I just took a loving for that. Like there was something about the smell of the smoke, even though it was a Traeger and being out there and, having to wake up super early in the morning. It just, something about it just kind of like
Hmm.
it triggered me and I loved it. And then slowly our restaurants and everything were still closed. And I had posting pictures on Instagram or whatever social media. And then buddies were like, let me just come grab a half rack of ribs. I can't go to my favorite barbecue spot in the city and do it, so I may as well come to you. So I started doing weekly pickups, just kind of from home, pre-order and pick up. It was like brisket, ribs, pulled pork, and maybe like mac and cheese and coleslaw. And I did that for like 6-ish months until I landed my first restaurant job.
Did you know what to charge, or did you talk to people like what to charge, or did you figure like two times or
It,
something?
it,
Or
it was, yeah, it was pretty much just two times.
yeah.
I had a lot of people, and I had no restaurant experience, no cooking experience at this time, so I didn't even know what food cost was. But yeah, I just pretty much was just happy to be making something. I was still in school online at the time, so I had come home from Ottawa, but was still in online classes. And so I was like, you know what, if I could make a couple $100 on the weekends, just cooking barbecue in the backyard, like it's a no-brainer, right? It was super hard to find a job at that point because everything was closed, and
Yeah, that's true.
so I was like, hey, I may as well. I loved doing it. I needed an excuse to cook every weekend because the amount of barbecue that we had in the fridge that no one was eating because I was cooking 6, 7 pound briskets every week was getting a little bit
That is true.
pricey. Yeah.
Yeah, when you start cooking like butts or briskets, you're cooking a lot, and even though you might mess it up sort of, but it's like still edible. It's that's a
Yeah,
lot of food, and if you don't have someone like, especially during the pandemic, like if you're not in
yeah,
contact, yeah, that makes a lot of
exactly. There was
sense.
no one coming over, and we weren't having like backyard barbecues or anything like that. So yeah, it was just any way I can get the meat out of my house and continue cooking. I was like, so be it.
You're not the only person that kind of started a business from, I think Winnie from Smoke Queen, I think that's sort of her
Yeah,
path was during the pandemic. So that's
yes,
really interesting. So then when did you get it? Was your next step from that was at Benny's barbecue?
yes.
Okay.
So Benny, he actually lives like a couple streets down from me,
Oh wow.
and he was doing the same thing. And so we had
Huh.
been messaging on Instagram a bunch, and he was like, "I'm thinking about opening a restaurant. Would you be into cooking with me?" And I was like, "I mean, heck yeah! At this point, anything to get me out of psychology." So I think we probably made first contact on that sometime in the summer, and then by March of the next year, I think we opened. So I guess that would be March of 22. Yeah,
You opened a physical location.
yeah, he has a brick
Yeah.
and mortar, like Midtown Toronto.
Okay. And then so how was that experience? And what were you doing? Were you helping him cook? Were you doing sides? Were you
So I
doing
was morning shift.
morning
So
shift?
I'd get there at probably 5:30-ish. I'd get all the meat seasoned and on the pit, kind of get the line ready for service. We did a lot of like pre-making our dressings for coleslaw, for potato salad. So it was kind of just incorporating everything and making sure the line was set, wrapping ribs, making sure everything kind of came out of the smoker at the right time. And that's kind of where I knew that this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had never worked in a restaurant, so like the kind of the draw of just like being in a different because restaurants, I mean, there are a lot of restaurants, a lot of people work in restaurants, but it's a very compact community. Like the
Hmm.
people who work in restaurants, it's like an if you know kind of
Yeah,
situation.
definitely.
And there was just something about it that just kind of like it drew me in. And I'm a morning guy. I've never been a late night. I hate like I used to get like anxious staying up past like 10 p.m. I'm like, I'm 21, you know, a lot of kids my age are not like that.
We're kind of kindred spirits in that way. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, getting up in the morning was awesome. I loved cooking and I got to like a lot of trial and error. I mean, experimenting recipes. I had never made a pastrami before. I had never made beef ribs before. I had never done any
Yeah.
of this stuff. And it was like I now get a playground, I get a kitchen to myself for a few hours in the morning and I just got to kind of figure out what I love doing.
Adamson
Yeah,
Barbecue. Was that
yeah.
had you visited them before the pandemic?
I did. So
Okay.
I loved Adamson barbecue.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I had no idea what barbecue was at that time though.
Okay.
So I loved going there. I loved lining up in the morning. I had never like waited in line at a restaurant before. Like, I mean, I was younger at the time, so I wasn't really going out much on my own. But yeah, like that draw to me that like they wouldn't give you side plates. You're ripping butcher paper and you're eating off the butcher paper
Yeah,
on the
that
thing.
was so
And to people in Toronto, like the restaurant market here is so different from down south. People were shocked. They had no idea how to process it. They
yeah.
didn't know why they loved the barbecue so much, but they kind of just loved being there and talking to the meat cutter. And you see this massive brisket come out of the paper and it's shiny and beautiful, and you've never seen anything like this in
Yeah.
your life. And so, yeah, that place was the best. I loved it.
Does it exist at all?
It doesn't, unfortunately not. So the pandemic kind of closed him down.
Yeah, yeah.
The restaurant was amazing. He had just opened a third location, which me and Benny actually went and took a bunch of his equipment from
Gotcha.
when we were helping open up Benny's restaurant. He's not so involved in barbecue anymore. He lives in Alberta, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah.
He's cattle ranching.
What?
Yeah, I
Cool.
believe.
Good for
Yeah,
him.
he's got a whole farm, like grass raised, grass fed,
Good
everything.
for him. The next place you worked at was Cherry Street, right?
Yes, so it kind of
Oh,
overlapped.
okay.
So in March, so me and Benny parted ways in January of not this past, but the one before. So I guess
Okay.
of last year. And I was kind of playing with the idea of opening a restaurant and, you know, kind of wanting to just to jump into it. I always had the kind of the idea like, I mean, he's a great guy and he helped me tremendously, Benny. But
Yeah.
I always kind of, if he could do it, I could do it. Like I
Hmm.
always kind of felt that idea. I was always confident in myself and that ability. But the restaurant market and real estate in Toronto is crazy.
I heard it's like the craziest almost in the world. It's up
Yes,
there. Yeah.
I didn't want to say that because I'm not exactly 100% sure, but it's, if not North America, one of the most top five most expensive real estate markets in the world.
Yeah.
So we had been talking to some real estate agents, but I just didn't feel like I was ready. I had never had a mentor. Like I had never cooked on a pit bigger than my 80 gallon that I had in the backyard. And I wanted to do it that way. If I was going to do it, I wanted to be burning real offset smokers or rotisserie, whatever it would be, but I would want to be doing it with a live fire. And so we ended up kind of steering away from that idea, and I got a job at the Carbon Bar,
Oh,
which is kind of like an upscale barbecue restaurant in the city. They've been around. I think we just celebrated the 10-year
oh wow.
uh, of this year, so they've been around for a while. I actually used to eat there as a kid, and midway, like I joined there in March, and I think in April or something, I was talking to the owner of Cherry, and he led me on. And I went and I worked there for a few weeks, ended up not getting the position that I wanted to get. So then I ended up just sticking it out at
Okay.
Carbon. Yeah.
That's Lawrence. Lawrence. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce it. He's a great guy
La
though.
Piata or
Lawrence
something.
is
Yeah,
Lawrence
he's
is
a
a
cool
very,
guy.
very he's a good guy. And
Yeah.
he helped me too. Me and my mom, we who we kind of me and my mom do everything in terms of the barbecue thing
Yeah.
together. We went and spoke to him last year when we were thinking about the restaurant. And he was tremendously helpful. He kind of gave us the blueprint and talked us through kind of his experience. So he was super helpful.
Gotcha. What did you learn most at Carbon Bar? Did you learn a lot of stuff about running a restaurant or?
Yeah, so that was kind of the scales kind of tipped in Carbon's direction was that Cherry, they said I could have gotten a pit position eventually if I stuck it out on the line long enough, and that was a very good offer. I mean, not everyone just gets thrown
Yeah,
a
of
job
course.
in the
Yeah.
pit right away. But Carbon to me was like, okay, I want to learn about working in a restaurant. What a real, you know, it's like 4,000, 5,000 square feet restaurant operates
Oh,
like, you know what I mean? Like they do a lot of business. The owner there, he has a few other restaurants in the city of Toronto. Super successful guy, and just learn from chefs and have a mentor and have someone. I'll cook barbecue on my own on the side, and on weekends or any days I have off, I'll do the cooking of the barbecue. But like I ended up a lot of the time there like shucking oysters and plating seafood, and I worked the grill for a few months. I cut barbecue for a few months. I was kind of all over the place at
good.
Carbon.
That's good.
Yeah, I just wanted to be a sponge, just take as much information in as I could and kind of see how I could use that to improve barbecue.
Yeah, because working in a restaurant's different than most businesses.
Yes.
It's an animal unto itself for sure.
It is for sure. Yeah. And I got a good taste there. Like I had never had to say yes, chef to somebody. Like I couldn't even fathom. I thought that was like kind of like a myth. But the chefs there, the executive and the two sous chefs, they're like phenomenal. Help me so much. I'd bring them in barbecue all the time and just say like rip it apart. Tell me what I did wrong.
Oh,
Tell me how
that's
I could
cool.
get better. And they like endless help. Endless help. They were fantastic.
So in the back of your mind while you're working there, were you thinking, I need to go to Texas and try my hand at working at a barbecue place there? Is that
Yeah, I
did you
mean,
listen to
after
enough of my podcast and all the other ones thinking,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, after listening to a bunch of stuff like this, watching all the Texas YouTube barbecue YouTube guys,
yeah,
Joe Yim, for example, or there's a Wilson's barbecue from all the way out in
yeah,
the
in the
UK.
UK, yeah.
Like if they can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? So it's like they went down, he worked at Terry Black's, Leroy and Lewis. Like that stuff always just was so cool to me. And I was like, I'm gonna get into the age now where I'm 23. I want to start getting serious about it and really refine the craft and get as good as I can get. So yeah, that's kind of when Texas came up.
So then, but how did Nolan and before, how did that were you following a number of people and reach out to
Yeah.
them or
Yeah.
how?
So I try and follow everyone
Yeah.
in the barbecue world. I think I might owe you credit for introducing me to Nolan. Is either you or the Meat Church video he did. But I think I started following him through that. And then he posted an ad one time saying that he was hiring. He posted how much he was paying. And I was like, that's more than I'm getting paid. And Texas doesn't get taxed. So I'm going to Texas. And I messaged him. I said, hey, I'm 22 at the time, from Toronto, cook barbecue, love barbecue, would love to come help you for as long as you'd like to have me, if you would like to have me. And I think he answered like 5 minutes later with like, Toronto's a hell of a long distance. But I mean, hey, I got trailer hookups on my property. I live in a super small town in the country. Everyone's super nice. We'd love to have you.
Oh,
And that was probably late April, and I left in on May 14th last year. So it was like a 2 week period from the time I messaged him, pretty much booked a flight
oh,
like the
gotcha.
next
Okay.
couple
I was
days.
thinking, but then
Yeah.
you ended up because I talked to Nolan and you were like, we're gonna stay there 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, that was
And
the
then how
original
long did
plan.
you end up staying?
I stayed until the end of June. Yeah. And that's when I was staying up in the hotel, the only hotel in Maybank. And he was like, you want to just like stay. He actually offered me, he was like, Matt Pittman is having a Memorial Day party at his lake house, which is kind of right down the road in that area, Cedar Creek Lake. And he's like, "You want to come?" And I was like, "I leave the day before." He's like, "So how about this? You stay for the rest of the summer, pretty much, and I'll take you there, and you'll get to meet a bunch of really cool people."
Ah,
And I was like, "All right, I'm sold." Like, I'm not rushing back to my job in the city to get paid less, to have less fun, to
yeah.
be doing less of what I wanted to be doing. So yeah, he sold it, and I ended up, like I said, sleeping in his kid gave up his bedroom for me, and I ended
That's
up moving in with him and his family, and they are the sweetest.
so nice. And to talk about your experience there, working there and all and traveling around, I'm sure you got to do a little bit of traveling around, right?
Yeah, we did a little bit of traveling. For me, I don't know. I'm sure most of your viewers are American, but I'm sure they're scattered across the world. Toronto is what people like to say, like the New York City of Canada. It's
Mhm.
big city. The Greater Toronto area is probably 10 million people. So when I landed in Dallas, cool, I'm in a city, somewhat familiar. And then I called an Uber because I'm not old enough to rent a car. I called an Uber to take me to Maybank, and he got there and he's like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. First time in Texas. I'm going to meet this guy and work at his restaurant in the country." He said, "Are you sure? Like, are you okay? Are you safe?" Like he gave me his number and everything in case anything happened. But I was like, "No, it's fine." So he ended up taking me
That's
down to
hilarious.
Maybank. Yeah, at that point I was in the car like, "Oh my, where am I going? This guy doesn't know where I'm going. I definitely don't." Um,
To be honest, I didn't know about Maybank before I talked to
yeah,
Nolan. So
I don't think a
now I
lot of
want to visit, but yeah,
yeah,
of course, yeah.
I don't think a lot of people do. It is a very small town.
Yeah.
Especially for me coming from Toronto.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I got there. I got out of the Uber into the hotel at like 9 o'clock, and it was pitch black. And I'm looking around, all I can hear is crickets. There's not a building in sight other than the hotel. And I was like, all right, I'm here. Let's just do this. And
It's
no,
surreal, but yeah.
yeah, it was. It was very surreal. I was like, I guess I'm in Texas now, and this is what you wanted to do. So you'll stick it out for 2 weeks, regardless of what it is, and it'll be over with. But yeah, so then no one picked me up like the next morning at 4 a.m. It was a Tuesday, I believe. So that's like the prep day. So they all get to the restaurant super early. The truck will come in with everything and start trimming and cooking briskets for Wednesday. Like that morning was like he picked me up in this huge dually truck. It's like wrapped in Kevlar or something. I got in the
That's
truck
awesome.
and yeah, he rode me. I was right down the street from the feed store, so we got in there and I met at the time the morning cook. His name was Chris. He was there. He's another fantastic guy, and we just like got to work right away. I saw the pits. I was like, I had never been so up close with an 1,000 gallon, 500 and a 250. I was like, it's a kid in a candy shop
Yeah,
at that.
exactly.
And yeah, they just put me right to work, which was kind of what I was hoping
Hmm.
because I was like, I don't want to be treated, like this is a vacation for me. I'm here to work. I'm here to learn from them. And I think we spent a few hours trimming briskets, ribs, everything that morning. And by the end of that day, it was like, all right, I know these guys are family. Like
Wow.
the hospitality, it's very different from up here. Not that people aren't nice up here, but
No, but it is different. I'm from Los Angeles, and when I went to Texas to live there, I was shocked at how different it was. How it just felt very more neighborly. It felt
yes,
more that
yes,
southern hospitality that everyone talks about. It was there, but with the Texas twist, it was just killer.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I've said to him 100 times since then, but like I couldn't have thanked him. He just took some kid just coming from Canada to work extra
Yeah.
shop at a feed store, and I didn't even know what a feed store was. I remember the phone call. Actually, I was embarrassed because he was like, "Yeah, we operate at a feed store," and I was like, "Is that like a Texas name for like a cafeteria or something? Like, is it a food court?" He's like, "No, it's where cowboys come with their trailers and pick up feed for their cows." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's Texas."
It is
Different.
That is so
Yeah.
Texas if you think about it. It really,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. It's the perfect kind
Hmm.
of
Yeah, that's why I love when he
combination.
talked about the location and then sent me photos and video. I was like, this is really cool because this is so unique to anything around. Like there'll be nothing around the world that'd be like that.
No, it
Yeah.
was a very unique experience for sure. I think every single day I saw something new that I had never seen before. Whether it was like me and Nolan loading his goats into the trailer and bringing them down to the sale barn, or like, you know what I mean? It's, for a city kid, it's like, I didn't
What
know
it
this actually happened.
That is awesome. No, I'm so happy for you that you got to experience that. That is,
Yeah, it was wicked.
and people listening to this or watching this, will be amazed because this is like a one in a million type thing because it's really unique and it's what you wanted. But I'm sure. And what was that like seeing the local? Because he gets a lot of local traffic, so you got a
Yeah.
lot of locals there. Was
Yeah.
that what was that? Were you did you get a chance to cut in the line and do that stuff or?
Yeah. So I think the first day I didn't cut until the first rush was over.
Okay.
And he had asked me if I'd cut before, and I had. I cut at Benny's and I cut a little bit at Carbon. So I was experienced on the board to a degree.
Yeah.
But then the second day, he was just like, "You're just gonna open on the board today," and I was like, "Okay, it's no problem." Like the first customers, they're ordering like 6 pounds of meat, and I'm like trying to find area. I can like looking behind them, I see all these people in line. It was
Yeah, I
like,
know that stress. That's yeah.
yeah, and also like from Toronto, it's not the coldest place in Canada, but like Texas is like 100 degrees and 90% humidity. So I'm in there sweating like
Yeah, of course.
from being nervous and from the heat. So it's like double. And it was just that
Uh,
first day was super stressful. I remember being finished and going outside and sitting in the pit room being like,
mhm.
that was something. That was something.
You did it.
Yeah, exactly. And I was super thankful that he kind of just threw me in to that position. He had the trust, I guess, in me. But yeah, it was so much fun working that line. Everyone there was so helpful. I mean, I was looking up at the menu to there's preset platters or whatever it is, and I'm like looking, trying to see what goes on each platter. But yeah, even the customers too. Like, I think by the third day, there were people, the Canadian's still here. Canadian's still around.
That's
Uh,
hilarious.
kind of busting my chops and having fun with the fact that I was stressed and not having the best time at that moment, but like so nice. Everyone was so friendly and so
When they could
nice.
watch you evolve too, like I'm sure over
Exactly.
the weeks they could see that you
Yeah.
know, become
Yeah.
more
And
familiar.
he put up like a little post saying that we had a guest. And I remember it was definitely the first week I was finishing the briskets and everyone was out of the restaurant. He had gone to do some errands and he just made a post saying something like, "Our Canadian friends in the pit room right now, if you're driving by, give them a honk or something, say hello." And I think in like the first hour after he posted that, there must have been like 20 people as they're driving down the highway at 100 miles or kilometers, whatever it is, per hour, just honking their horns. And I'm like, in the city, if you're
Wow.
honking at someone, you're risking someone getting out of their car and causing some trouble.
Yeah,
But
here too.
I guess down south, it's like a hey, how are you? So it was
That
super
is
cool.
so cool.
It
And it shows
was like
also like the power of, you know, the internet, how someone
exactly,
can
yeah,
post that and
yeah.
that says a lot. And it's interesting too. Like what was for like say you were going to be for barbecue and boba, what would your ideal platter be or what would you want to get? Like say you're going by yourself right now.
I would go ribs. I would say the first thing that stuck out to me were how good his ribs are. The color is one thing; they look
Yeah.
beautiful, but his pork ribs were top notch for me. I had never had sliced pork belly before. So his sliced pork belly kind of knocked me away. I was shocked of how good that was. And then brisket. I'm a brisket guy. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I feel
Of
like a
course,
lot of
yeah.
barbecue people are brisket
Yeah.
guys. But the cool thing about Nolan's menu and something that I want to try and replicate if I ever get to the chance to open a restaurant was like there are so many things on the menu that aren't just barbecue. They're barbecue oriented. It's like he's
Mhm.
got a loaded spud, which I know is pretty common. He's got like a rice bowl, like a Chipotle bowl, kind of a bed of rice, beans, and then your meat, and they top it up with the cheese and pico and everything like that. Loaded nachos, just little things like that, where it's like in a small town where there's not a lot of restaurants,
Mhm.
you're kind of inviting people to come back every day because you can eat something different every day.
I agree.
And so it's like it's not just meat, you're getting pounds of meat, a 3 meat plate, or preset platter. It's like the fact that there's menu options that are kind of they invite you back, and
I
that's
agree.
something that stuck out to me as super super cool.
Yeah, he caters. He's just very smart about business, and he's smart about his clientele because it caters to the local clientele that wants to
Yeah,
come once or twice, and the fact that people after a few days were saying, "Hey, there's the Canadian guy still here," so that
yeah,
obviously he does get a lot of repeat business and local traffic.
huh.
And was it and like they line up through the feed store, right? Isn't that kind of
Yeah,
yeah? So
yeah.
wow,
So the front door is the feed store. You walk in, you kind of walk past all the apparel and boots and hats and all that kind of cool stuff. And then he's kind of tucked into I mean, the restaurant's pretty large, but to get to his thing, he's kind of in the
yeah,
off to the side a little bit, and people wrap all the way around the feed store. And it's definitely mutually beneficial because every time I walked in there, I was buying some handmade soap or cowboy hat or something that I
Yeah,
couldn't get back home. So I'm sure
that's
that
good.
helps them out a lot too. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
yeah,
help each other. It's like the one hand
for
feeds
sure.
the. Now, when you were there too, I mentioned earlier, did you get a chance to go to any other barbecue places in like just outside of town, or were you?
I didn't. I was angry at Noel, not actually angry, but angry at him because the day after I left, I think he went to Cadillac, and then they went on a road trip that following week and went to Snows, which was just like a. And they were gracious. They invited me on vacation with them, but I had to come home or I was going
Yeah,
to lose my job. So I could have gone, but
I know
um,
Cadillac was high on his list when we talked. He was
it
that was
was
yeah.
yes,
When
and
you
it
when you
looked
go back,
phenomenal.
you could visit. You'll
Exactly. I went to Troubadour in October.
oh cool,
So I got to eat bites from a lot of different people and meet all these pit masters, which
yeah.
was just
And you said
remarkable.
you said you go into Texas next
Yeah,
week
I leave Monday. So today's Wednesday, I leave Monday.
for fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out at B4.
Oh
I'm
cool,
gonna go help them cook at Troubadour and
oh cool,
walk around at Troubadour and yeah, just taking a couple weeks to it's been
nice,
go the whole new year since January 13th. It's been every day. So
nice.
it's gonna
That's
be nice
cool.
to take
That'll
a
be
little
fun.
break.
No, that'll be fun. No,
Yeah,
I'm hoping to get a chance to go late summer, early fall to
yeah.
yeah, to be
Yeah,
able to
don't
go
go
back.
midsummer. Don't go. Actually, you're from California. You're
Yeah, well,
used to
I
the
when I
you're
was there
used
when
to the
I
heat.
was there during the summer and it
Yeah,
was oh, it was so hot. It was the hottest I've ever.
awful,
It's worse.
awful.
Like we get it 110, but as they say dry heat, but
Yeah, so it's not as bad.
it really isn't as bad because
Yeah,
it'll be like 90 when it's been like 110 for a long time. And you're like,
yeah,
oh, 90 is not too bad. Like I
yeah,
could probably wear a sweatshirt. When you headed back, is that when you said I'm gonna bite the bullet and buy a pit? Is it?
yeah. I so when I
Yeah.
left the first time, actually, I was like, okay, I'm comfortable now cooking on these pits. It wasn't the big kind of like intimidating thing that it was
Mhm.
beforehand. And there's not one. Cherry Street's burning they have an oiler, JNR oiler. So
Yeah.
they're running a real wood-fired pit, but
Yeah.
there's, to my knowledge, no one in this city who burns at a restaurant, brick and mortar, who burns an offset smoker. Not one restaurant.
Other than Adamson was, but
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah.
Adamson was. So I mean, I was like, it's got to happen. I mean, people in the city, like I've had people who walk by me, I'm cooking on my driveway, and they're like, "What is this thing? What are you doing? Is it for hot dogs and hamburgers? Why is it so big?"
Yeah, there must
So
be some strange reason you're yeah.
yeah, exactly. Especially
Spaceship
so
or
early in
something.
the
Yeah.
morning. There's
Yeah.
like a little park next to my house. A lot of the dog walkers come up and down. I mean, they're like, "Have you been out here all night?" And I'm like, "I just woke up." They're like, "It's 3:30 in the morning. What possibly could you be doing out here?" And then they'll walk by 4 or 5 times throughout the day, and I'm still there.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to ask too because I watched the video. I'll put a link to your video below because it's a really great video and it's short, so people don't have, like you don't have to take
yeah,
4 hours of your time. It's really
yeah.
worth it. But it's I was thinking because I've dealt with all and I've been friends with all the LA guys and how much they've gotten from cooking out. Like, do your neighbors complain? Is that something, or is that can you get in
So
trouble for doing what you're doing? Or
so
should I even talk
that's
about it?
we can. My neighborhood, that was the big thing for me. I mean, I've lived here my entire life. I'm super blessed to still live at home with my parents.
Yeah.
We've been here a long time, and my father was extremely concerned. So when I got my pit, I was originally supposed to buy a 334 gallon, which is a very odd size, but
Yeah, I was gonna
it's
say
kind of like
what
slim. It's the makers are bogline smokers, kind of out in the Western Ontario.
yeah, I'll put a
Um,
link to them below. Yeah.
they're fantastic, fantastic dudes. They were like, man, you don't get this smoker. It is too small. We've seen your product. We saw you went down to Texas. You should just get a 500. And at the time, I mean, I'm thinking about footprint on my driveway because my brother has a car, my mom has a car, I don't have a car. So I was like, it could technically be my car if it fits in the
Yeah, yeah,
driveway,
that's
right?
true.
If it makes sense, then they can pull up their cars in and out of the garage. It'll be my car. So they persuaded me out of the 334, which I was leaning towards because it's a slimmer build, and I thought it would have less of a footprint. But they kind of made the trailer in a way that it's not as wide as maybe your traditional 500-gallon trailer would be. So when we got the 500, we were kind of all freaking out. Like this thing's going to put out a lot of smoke. It's huge. And there's not a lot of people in my neighborhood who have a
You can't hide it.
500-gallon smoker on their driveway. but everyone was super kind about it. I mean, no one directly has come to me and said anything, no complaints. I've had people who walk by and say, "We walk this way just to smell the smoke because it smells
Oh,
fantastic."
that's cool.
Yeah, I've handed out a few hundred business cards just to people in the area who are walking by me. I have a catering on Friday up at a construction site from someone in my neighborhood who hooked it up. So, I
Oh,
mean,
that's yeah. It
yeah.
definitely is a good, nice way to advertise your business.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Yes. That's what people say. They say this is a great way of just putting your name out there because yeah, I've had FedEx people who are delivery couriers who are driving by, they drive by and they pull back and they're like, I think I saw you on TikTok or something. Is this you must be that guy that's cooking barbecue? And I was like,
That's cool. That's
yeah, very cool. So it sticks out a lot. But it's not the sore thumb I thought a lot of people
okay.
would
All right.
take it as, which I'm thankful for. Very
But what
thankful
was
for.
that moment when you pulled the trigger on that? That's, must have been
That
kind
was a
of,
big moment. Yeah, it was very cool. I knew it had to happen eventually. It was kind of just when. And I wasn't content with the barbecue in the city and not so much like how it tastes or where it's coming from, but just like I can't get a job that I love doing in the barbecue world here. So it was like I knew that if I was gonna have a job that I love doing in barbecue, it would have to be something that I did for myself. So it was a big risk. I didn't have any events booked or
uh,
pop-ups or catering or anything like that. I didn't even have a name for my business. But I was like, it's got to happen. It's just got to happen, and everything else will figure itself out later.
yeah, yeah. So the Golden Horseshoe,
Golden Horseshoe.
is that
Yeah.
because of your last name, right?
So my last name's Golden, and then the geographic area from like Toronto down to like Niagara, Buffalo kind of area is called the Golden Horseshoe.
Oh,
So in Texas or in America, the South, barbecue is very regional. Central Texas, East Texas,
yeah.
Kansas City, wherever it is, it's all very different.
Yeah.
So I figured it would be cool to have some regional identity and kind of
Oh,
create the own style of barbecue and do something like that. Even though Goldie's, they kind of took my name. My nickname was Goldie growing up. So when they so came number one, that I was like, all right, they took the name. But
jerks. What a
yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
jerks.
exactly, right. They didn't even consider me. It's awful.
You can talk to them, I'm sure, someday about that.
Yes,
But
one day.
I thought Golden Horseshoe maybe was like golden and then horseshoe as in good luck or like
Yeah, it's plenty of meetings. I didn't even come up with it, I'll be honest. The old oyster shucker at Carbon, a man by the name of Lawrence, fantastic dude, mentor of mine. He came up with the name. He made me pay
oh,
him $1 for it, signed a piece of paper, and
for
Golden
real?
Horseshoe was signed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he didn't
That's
make me, but it was
no,
like
but
a
that's cool. That's
it was
fun.
like a signing off of the name for me, and I liked it a lot, and I wasn't going to come up. I'm not a very I mean, creative in terms of cooking, but not in the whole,
Yeah, yeah.
I can't edit a YouTube video. Getting on Zoom was a struggle enough, so I wasn't
Yeah,
going to come up
you
with a
did
better
it.
name.
You
Yeah.
finally you finally did it. Well, that's cool. Well,
Yeah.
so then what's your business model right now? Do people pre-order? Is that how it is? Or
So it's kind of unique. I'm sure this happens all over the place. But there's like I think someone told me the other day there's like 260 microbreweries within a 60-mile
hmm,
kind of circumference of each other in the city of Toronto. And a
crazy.
lot
That's
of
a
them Yeah, it was a crazy number. To me, I didn't know. I knew craft beer, but I couldn't have imagined the scale that it's happening. And they don't have I guess, the paper to sell food or they like to have dogs. People can bring their dogs and pets or whatever it is into the brewery. So they don't sell food, but they host people like myself, and there's a lot of other vendors that kind of go brewery to brewery
hmm Yeah, that happens
selling
here.
their
If it
food.
happens
Yeah,
here, it happens in
cool. I'm
Texas.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on. I think the 13th of January was our first date in the new year, and it's been every single weekend
Okay.
since. Between
So you're
caterings and
popping up at
pop-ups.
place. Okay.
Yeah, every weekend, pretty much.
You're not selling anything directly. I didn't know if you started maybe selling directly from your
No,
driveway,
no,
and then that
no.
happens.
That yes, it does. I used to do that. That's how it kind of started. And I have brought food home for people, kind of like in the neighborhood. They'll knock on
Yeah,
the door and just be like, "Can I get a bite of this?" I'm like, "All right, I'll bring you home some."
yeah, that's cool.
So I've
Yeah,
done a little bit of that. Yeah, it's all pop-ups and catering right now for me.
and
Yeah.
through social media, they could track you and kind of figure out.
Yeah, that's kind of been the tough part is that like I said, I'm not going to be the guy to create this fancy website that can like input into your GPS how to get to the brewery. So everything right now is social media for me, Instagram.
Yeah,
I don't really have the though I don't really want to have to put any money into it at this point in time.
Makes
Obviously, if it
sense. Yeah.
comes to a restaurant, I'm trying to keep overhead as low as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything's just social media, brewery to brewery, kind of making my way through the city.
Are you getting people lined up? Are people coming early?
Yeah, so it's been super cool. Our first pop-up was overwhelmingly successful. I think it had a lot to do with the brewery's crowd. I had a lot of friends and family that ended up coming out. But they were a very popular brewery. They actually ended up moving north of the city, which sucked for me because I really liked going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few where it was super like in the late stages of 2023. We started in November. I think we did four before the new year. We had a few that were slower, and I was kind of just thinking of ways to like get people to come because everyone who did eat there, I don't know if they were being nice, but they said they loved it. They said it was the best barbecue they've had in a while or best barbecue they've had in the city. Um, so I was just trying to figure out ways to get people out there, and I had made some friends with food influencers
Yeah.
through working at other restaurants, and so in the new year I invited a bunch of them out, got some stuff going on social media, and then like all of a sudden I think my following doubled in like a week and a half or something, which it's not a crazy big following on Instagram, but big enough that
Enough to, yeah.
exactly. And so every week now we see the same faces plus some new ones. I'm trying to instill into people get there early. I can only cook so much, especially for a pop-up where you never know. Like the brew, if it's a new brewery, do they bring in a lot of people of their
Yeah, that's
own?
true. Their own, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but we're getting lineups now. I think the last pop-up we did, we sold out in about an hour and a half, which was one
Wow.
of our quickest. Yeah, which is fantastic. I mean, I wish I could have done more, but it was wicked. The support has been wicked.
That makes me really happy. What are you guys serving? And then you have to talk about your mom's banana pudding, right?
Yes, unfortunately, I have to talk about it all the time because it's very, very good.
No, I assume that was a thorn in your
Yeah.
side. That's why I had to bring it up.
Yes. Yeah. So, in terms of menu, it's very simple. Brisket, ribs, sausage, homemade sausage, which I've kind of been experimenting with flavors. I like looking at all the different sausage just all across all the
Yes,
barbecue
so
world.
do I. I love it.
It's a very creative community.
It is
Like it's like
wild, but it's amazing.
yes, they
Yeah.
go they go very they go very crazy with it, and I like it. So yeah, it's brisket rib sausage to Trinity, and then I kind of rotate between the sliced pork belly and the burnt ends.
Oh, cool.
Burnt ends seems to have the ring to it here, where people hear burnt ends and they have to add it to their platter.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I have the Trinity platter, so like a Trinity one, two, and four, on my menu, and then people, if it's sliced pork belly, they don't really go for it unless they know how good it is. But if it's burnt ends, people are like, yeah, give me throw a pound of burnt ends on there. So we do that. I do beef ribs sometimes. People love them. From a pop-up perspective, I hate having to charge people, you know, $60
Yeah.
for a beef rib. But people love them. They're willing. They every weekend they're like, you didn't bring the beef ribs? And I'm like, I didn't
But
know
also
whether or not
space
people
wise, you don't have.
exactly. It's cutting it close. And I always thank the Boglanders. I was on the phone with them the other day. Thank you for pushing me to get the 500 because I'm already at capacity with the 500. I'm happy about that. And we've talked about the next pit that we're going to be doing for the restaurant.
Kind
But
of
yeah,
assumed.
yes, it's coming. Hopefully it's coming soon.
It's
I
not a
mean, yeah,
334, right? It's a
yeah, no, it'll be a little bit bigger. But yeah, so it's, yeah, the Trinity burnt ends. We do Texas Twinkies, which is something that I kind of picked up from Nolan, and I know a lot of people do them
Mhm.
in Texas, which is something I never thought I'd like. I don't know why the cream cheese and the jalapeno kind of threw me off.
Mhm.
It's not something that I had eaten before, but that stuck out to me on Nolan's menu as well. I forgot to mention the Twinkies are wicked.
Yeah, they're crazy. Well,
It's
they look
just a
great. I haven't. Yeah.
yeah, it's just a perfect idea. It just
Mhm.
works.
Yeah.
And I get to use the odds and end bits of brisket that I have at the end of a pop-up. I just chop them up, back seal freeze, and use them for the next one. And then yeah, like the mac and cheese, potato salad, slaw, pickled onions, and we do like not really a pickle. It's like a Korean. They call it oimuchim. It's like a Korean, not spicy, but like a red chili cucumber. But
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of like a pickle, which is a favorite of mine as well. It kind of works.
Yeah. I love that at Korean places.
Yeah,
That's
it's the
killer.
best. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
Are they
It's
called
very good.
bonchons or something like that? All those little things they call it.
Yes. So banchan's like the dishes that they'll give
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
at the K barbecue
I was
place.
mentioning it to someone
Yeah.
recently. I'm like, there's a called bonchons. And I'm like, maybe they're not. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
it
that's what
is.
they're
It
called.
is for
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So that's cool. So you kind of mix that in. Now
Yeah.
is there, but then your mom makes banana pudding?
Yes. So my
I'm sorry to
mom,
bring it up
yeah,
again.
no, she's the best. She deserves all the credit.
I'm kidding.
She has written cookbooks, I think, like not like big published cookbooks, but small cookbooks. She used to host cooking classes here for mothers in the neighborhood, mothers and fathers in the
Oh,
neighborhood.
that's cool.
She had a little cold press juicing business for a while. She's baked pies forever. Everyone's mom's a great cook, and my mom's not better than everyone else's mom, but she is
Maybe she is.
fantastic. Yeah, maybe she is, but she's fantastic.
You're allowed to, I think
Um,
when it's your mom, you're allowed to say that kind of stuff.
yeah,
I think.
I
I think.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and she deserves it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she started baking for us when I was working at Benny's.
Okay.
So she did cornbread and banana pudding, and she does these big, like 8 ounce s'mores cookies, which are wicked.
Oh,
Banana pudding cookies.
oh,
She's
that's a
very
smart idea.
creative. Yeah,
Oh,
they're wicked. They're wicked. And yeah, she's gotten really good at doing all that kind of stuff. And her banana pudding has seemed to take over everything that I do. Like people, they I've had people come in for 5 banana puddings and then just leave. Uh, which I don't know
I think
whether
I've
to
heard.
take
I
that as
forget.
an
There's some
insult.
restaurant that I talked to one time. They said people that's come in for
Yeah,
the desserts, and the
yeah,
guy's like, "Wow, that's cool. That
yeah.
sucks."
It works. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
It is fantastic, and it's a good representation of what we do. But it's wicked. I think she uses some recipe similar to Magnolia Bakery, which was I guess
Hmm.
they were a hand in or a New York City bakery who has a very famous banana pudding. It's
Oh,
not to my knowledge. I think she told me that. I don't even know if that's the right name, but I think it is. But yeah, so it's wicked. It's the best. It's
that's
the
cool.
best.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's available most pop-ups or
Yeah,
all.
every I
Okay.
can't do a pop-up without it or people will complain.
That's cool. And then they obviously
Yeah.
they get their beer or whatever at the
Yes.
brewery that you're at. So
Yes. It's a very cool kind of partnership,
yeah,
barbecue and beer.
that's
It
cool.
doesn't really
So
get much better than that.
what kind of wood are you using and then where do you get your wood? Is it hard to get wood or?
It is extremely hard. I am fortunate. The kind of wood I burn maple, oak mix between white and red oak, and sometimes cherry. Cherry is a very light wood, so it burns up super quick and
Yeah.
a lot of temperature fluctuation. But the wood story is kind of funny. Um, you have to pay a fortune to get wood delivered to you in the city.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous, and 90% of it is for fireplaces and stuff because people aren't really cooking with fire out here. I found a guy through when we were at Benny's for wood,
Mhm.
and he ended up. Me and him went to the same school, stayed in college, same residence building. He was one floor above me, both dropped out the same year and started doing business. And we didn't know until he came the first time. He was like, "Hey, we got a mutual follower on Instagram." And I was like, "Oh, I went to school with this person." And he was like, "She lived the floor below me." And I was like, "She lived on my floor." And then all of a sudden, me and him now are super close. And he does wood, sells wood full time. There's a
Well, that's
big
cool.
community of Amish people where he lives. It's called Waterloo, Ontario. And yeah, he helps me out tremendously.
Wow.
Otherwise, I'd be
What's
breaking
the
the
name of
bank.
the company?
It's Brandon Burns bag. Burn bags. Brandon Burn bags.
That's hard.
All right.
Hard to
Yeah,
say.
it's a little bit of
Brandon
a
Bird. Yes, tongue
yeah.
twister. Is it
Yeah, a little
Brandon
bit.
Bird? I'll put it. Maybe I can
Yeah.
put it if I'm
Yeah.
fancy enough. I'll put it below it.
Yes,
That's cool. Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Well, give me a
And
link.
he's
Well, I can.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. He's in and around my age and he's a wicked dude and has
That's
helped me
cool. That's a
tremendously.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
You
good
guys
little
can kind of
partnership.
grow together.
Exactly. It's been very cool kind of seeing his business grow, which is it's just taken off, and then me being able to do what I'm doing now. And yeah, it's really cool, especially because we're the same age. So it's like
Yeah. Perfect.
two
Yeah.
young guys who kind of took the risk dropping out of school,
The same
and doing
school.
what we love. Yeah, same school, same residence building too, which is even freakier.
Watch you find out there's
Yeah.
like 10 guys like you guys in there
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
exactly. Exactly.
That's interesting. So then is the end goal then you kind of mentioned it. So do you want to have a brick and mortar? Is that
Yeah. So right now we're in the process of looking for something. It's gotten to the point where it's too much to do. I have no employees. It's me and my mom.
Mhm.
And so we'll go to commissary kitchens and do all of our prep there and stuff like that. And it's gotten too much for the two of us.
Yeah.
Like there are weekends where, it's like 5 12-hour days. And I mean,
It's a
I can
lot.
do it. I'm 23 and I'm young and I have no problem waking up in the morning and doing what I got to do. But she's a mother and retired, so I kind of just threw her into this position where now all of a sudden she's my sous chef. Um, so it just makes sense. We're running around still doing groceries. The only thing I get delivered is my meat order. Um, so we're running around doing groceries every week and packaging and all this little stuff that just the
Yeah,
small things take up hours, and those hours could be better put doing other things. And having a brick and mortar would kind of just settle that down where
yeah,
everything is coming to us. We get to go to the same place every weekend or week. Um, the consistency would
mm,
become a little bit easier. So we feel like it's become time where
yeah.
it's time to start looking into it. And we've gotten good feedback from everyone. We've gotten busy enough where we feel like the community would support us.
Where would it be somewhere nearby where you are or downtown? Is downtown even feasible? Is that or
No, downtown is a
that
no-go.
wouldn't make sense, right?
Yeah, I think there's a certain square in downtown Toronto, relatively large portion of downtown Toronto, where you can't even open a pizza place with a wood-fired oven anymore. They've just
Gotcha.
completely outlawed it,
Oh, gotcha.
which is super tough for business
Yeah,
owners. They're the ones that are there are grandfathered in or whatever they call it, where
yeah.
they're good to stay, but there are no more new ones. So I live just north of downtown, um, called Midtown Toronto. And we're looking in this area, we're looking kind of west. We're looking for industrial space because, like I said, real estate here is ridiculous, and prime real estate is even worse. Um, Adam from Adamson's Barbecue kind of stuck it in my brain that you don't have to be in downtown or in a very populated area. He was a destination spot, like
Yeah,
a lot of
exactly.
barbecue, like a lot of barbecue is. So we're looking to find something that has a lot of room. We can dine a lot of people and have space for our smokers
Yeah.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be
Which
cool to go on?
now I was gonna say just because I mean there's not a lot of restaurants in the city that are built for 1,000-gallon pits
Yeah.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I
tough.
want to ask you a question. My mom just texted me because I'm taking care of her. Let me just write her back and said, make sure. Yeah. See, we're like kindred spirits too, because we're
Mhm.
with our mom. Yeah.
I'm a mama's boy. Always have been.
Yeah, same with me. And I also like my dad died 14 years ago, and my brother
Sorry.
is not like in the picture at all. He's not helping at all. And my mom has been through like she said, both knees replaced, both shoulders, back surgery. She almost died on Thanksgiving, was in the
Boy,
hospital for 12 days. She was intubated for five of them. I whispered in
that's
her ear
awful.
and I said, "Hey, go see dad, or if you want, or come with me and we'll move to Oregon and I'll get you a guest
Yeah,
house." And so yeah, she just for some reason
that's
chose to
awful.
stick with me.
Yeah,
But
good,
and it was hard.
good.
Like they wanted to put her in a rest home. I'm like, no, I'm taking her home to my house and I'm gonna
Yeah,
and her hands were like so swollen from like fluids that she couldn't even brush her teeth. Like she couldn't, it was I had to brush my
that's
mom's. It was
awful.
the
Yeah.
craziest thing, but now she's like almost walking again. She's
Oh,
just
perfect.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
and like women are like she's tough. Like she's tough as
Yes. Mothers are the
they are
toughest.
toughest.
They're,
Like yeah,
yes.
they could
They're, that's,
shoot through like
yeah.
bone if they had to.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
so
super
she,
tough, though. That's super, super tough.
yeah, but it's
Yeah.
also like being able to take her to the south was really cool. Like just not
Yeah.
south, but like southwest. And then
Mhm.
we're going up to okay, she whatever. Okay. She also I'm gonna go up in June. We're going up to Oregon to look at places like cities to see where we
Very
want to live,
cool.
but
Yeah.
also to go to grasslands, go to
Oh, that's cool.
Matt's
Grasslands is
yeah,
on my
those
checklist. I'd
dudes
love to
are
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Matt's barbecue because I've been friends with him forever. He has like Matt's Taco and he has like a couple different. He
Yeah.
also has a place, a commissary area where he has like seven pits or something or six pits, like something
Very
cool. Like
cool.
he's like, I'll show
Yeah.
it to you when you come up. And then
Yeah.
yeah, so
That's
we're
very cool.
yeah,
Very cool.
and she's into the now that she went to Little Miss Barbecue with me and they treated her like a queen and
Yeah.
she's like it blew her away. They went up to Evie Mae's and so she now that she knows it, she's like these people that Kevin talks to actually do like him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're real people. They're
For
not like
sure. For
imaginary
sure.
folks and stuff.
Yeah.
So
It's a good
it's
community barbecue.
such
Good
a great,
community.
yeah, such a
Yeah.
great one. So cool.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna shoot? I was gonna ask you.
We're going on about the restaurant.
Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be cool for someday to have Nolan come and like work for a week or work for that would be such a cool having at your place.
So we were joking the other day. I was at a viewing looking at a property, and he was like, I was talking to him afterwards. And he's like, "So cool. So I can pack it up here and come work for you up in Canada." And I told him, I was like, honestly, if I open a restaurant, he better be at the soft launch cooking with me in the
Yeah.
morning or whatever it is. It'd be very cool to have him out here freezing his butt off in the cold.
That'd be
Make him
fun.
cook, make him cook a week in February up here, and he'd be that would toughen him up a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
He,
because Nolan needs to be tougher, right?
exactly. Well, they
Well,
used to they were making fun of me all summer long because I would finish a shift and just like sit on the floor in the AC and just try and recover. And he was like, "Hey, Texas gets cold too. You'd always say that Texas gets really cold in the winter. You'd be freezing your butt off down here." I said, "It's
it
different
gets
here.
cold, but not like you
Not
guys
Canada
cold
cold.
though. And what
Not
is that?
Canada."
What is that like cooking in the cold? I kind of have to wrap this up in like 5 minutes, so I
Yeah, no
apologize. But
worries,
yeah,
no
yeah.
worries.
But like
Cooking in the cold, not that big of a deal. Does it suck to be sitting out by the pit cooking in the cold?
yeah,
Yeah. Fire burn a little bit more wood for sure, but it's really not the, you know what I mean? It's not such a big deal.
okay,
It's manageable. Maybe it's because it's kind of what I learned doing. But it's to me, I'd rather cook in the cold than cook in the heat down in Texas any
okay,
day of the
yeah,
week.
that makes that does make
Any day of
sense.
the week. Any day of the week. Yeah.
How cold does it get in Toronto?
So this last winter, I was super thankful that we had a little bit of a mild winter because it was my first kind of first full winter cooking outside for like full time. But we have like -10 January and February, -15 plus wind chill. We've had days where it's like -30, 35, but that's like a one-off
Yeah, okay,
kind of thing. Um, but yeah, it gets pretty cold. We
yeah,
don't get a lot of snow, which is good.
hmm
Cooking outside, I don't have to dig myself out of the driveway too much. Um, but it gets cold. It gets
okay.
pretty cold. Yeah.
Am I pronouncing Toronto? Like I say Toronto. Is it Toronto? Like am I pronouncing it right? How do you
People
pronounce
say
it?
Toronto. I mean, it makes sense if you're
I'm
not
putting
from here.
emphasis on the
Yeah,
toe part, Toronto.
yeah,
I don't know why.
yeah,
I have no. I just noticed
yeah.
it when I said it to you last time.
I think it's a city thing that people say Toronto. It kind of just it's like
Okay,
they
Toronto.
skip
Just
the T. Yeah,
Toronto.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think
All
I've
right.
heard that.
All
Yeah.
right. So then, is there anything that you want people to know about you or your business or something that would help people that are in your area? No, is there something, anything else that you want people to
Yeah,
cover?
everything I do right now is through Instagram. So if you're interested in coming out, it's Golden Horseshoe BBQ on Instagram. It's Golden
Mhm.
Horseshoe BBQ on everything. Um, we cook the most authentic barbecue that we can up here. Um, it's a family-run business, and we genuinely love what we do. So if
Yeah.
that interests you at all, then we would love to see you
Like,
anytime that we're popping up.
nice. I
Yeah.
want to call. Like I'm jealous that I'm not in your area. That's
Yeah.
I will eventually make it up. I promise you.
Yeah. You and Nolan will be at the
Yeah.
soft launch when I open, hopefully.
Okay. When is it?
Yeah.
Wait, so what? So if people were wondering, like, do you think maybe early next year? Maybe you think that could possibly?
Early to late. I My perfect situation when we started looking for real estate, my perfect situation would was hoping for mid fall of this coming year.
Mhm.
But with how that everything is kind of
Yeah.
flowing, it'll probably be late this year, early next
Okay.
year.
Okay.
And I plan on. I was talking about the bogline guys before. I put in 1,000 gallon on order, and I put a whole hog pit on order,
Oh, cool.
which is super cool. I don't think anyone in the city of Toronto has ever eaten whole
I'm
hog.
sure
Maybe
they have it.
there's some Filipino communities in the area that have. They do a lot
That's
of
true. Yeah.
whole pig, but in the traditional Texas sense or Carolina sense of a whole hog. So that'll be cool to bring to the city for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. I'm stoked to talk to you, and
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, and I heard great things from Nolan. And when like it kind of reminded me a little bit of what happened to me a little bit, but it was in a
Yeah.
different way. And I'm stoked for you, and I'm excited that you care so much about what you do, and that it's a family affair. And
Yeah.
watching your video again, I'll put a link below.
Please.
It
Thank
makes
you.
people realize that it's real and that it's
Yeah.
something that
It's
you take
doable.
very
You know what I mean?
serious
Yeah.
and you're like in this infant stage that I love so much because like the sky's the limit right now. And so I'm
Yeah.
stoked to talk to you now. And maybe
Yeah.
I'll talk to you in a year from now and
For
we'll see,
sure.
or maybe
Yeah.
whatever when you open and or maybe I'll talk
Yeah.
to you in person. It's
Yeah.
just whatever.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I really appreciate you having me on. Like I said, I used to in the
Awesome.
Traeger mornings, I used to watch all the videos and be like, damn, these guys are really cool. And
Oh, cool.
feels
Well,
almost surreal being on here right now. I feel like I'm
uh,
watching the video, but getting to talk to you. So I
thank you.
appreciate you
Well,
having me on.
it's happening. It's real. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure this is real.
Yeah.
I don't know if any
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
around us is real, but this for
Cool.
sure is happening. Well,
That
yeah,
works out, man.
have a great rest of your week. All right, have a great day.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right,
Good
cool.
talking to
Thanks
you.
so much. All right, take
Yeah,
care.
of course.